Okay, the sectional crisis. The Mexican War is over, and the countdown to our own civil war has begun. Well, the treaty that ends the Mexican War is the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. U.S. got all of Texas. We get what's going to be New Mexico. We get present day Arizona, Utah, Nevada, and California. Now, California had declared its independence briefly as the Bear Flag Republic, and that just cumulatively vanished the minute we won the war. U.S. We felt bad about ripping the northern half of Mexico off, so we paid them $15 million. They took the money, but believe me, they're not very happy about it. In fact, Latin America never looks at us the same again because, well, like you said, the Mexican War might not have been fully justified, and instead of being like an ally, we suddenly get nicknamed Colossus of the North, and we're going to do a lot of stuff down in Latin America. They're not going to like us too much for it. A lot of intervening in people's personal affairs. But before we even talk about all that, the U.S. sectional conflict gets even worse. North and South are going fully driven further apart from each other more and more as it comes down to what are we going to do with this new territory in the West? Is it going to be free or is it going to be slave? And some people think the question was settled in 1820 with the 3630 line. Other people look at the map and they say, you know what, you can't really grow cotton out in the West anyway, especially not in New Mexico and Arizona. So they don't understand what the whole controversy is about. And some diehard Southerners are convinced that the rest of the states are going to gang up against the South and outnumber them. Like I said, that problem is slavery. Now, there's some evidence that slavery is dying out. We saw this one time before, and then the cotton gin showed up. But to be honest with you, where can the cotton kingdom go? You can't go east, or you can't go south because you got the ocean there. Can't go north. The climate's, too different. Plus, politically it's impossible. And extending far west, about as far as Houston's about as far as you can go. So, just really can't see the Cotton Kingdom really extending anywhere. Now, James Polk, who had won all this territory and was a slaveholder, nonetheless saw slavery in the territories as not only unwise but wicked. So here's another guy who owns slaves who thinks maybe the days of slavery are probably numbered. He saw the 3630 line, remember, Compromise 1820, he saw that as the permanent solution. No slavery above it is legal below it, even though New Mexico, Arizona, California, just there's no way it's going to work over there. So it doesn't make sense in any level, really. I think cotton has gone as far as it can go. Of course, if you really want to up production, try paying people, but that's just a personal opinion. Now, David Wilmot in the great state of Pennsylvania is in Congress, and he issues the Wilmot Proviso right after the war had begun with Mexico. He stated there should be a law stating simply no slavery in the new territories. Period. End of story. Some Southerners upset about it. John C. Calhoun gets up in the middle of Congress and starts shouting at him. That's what John C. Calhoun does. You've seen the guy's hair. Zach Taylor's the general. Remember him down in Mexico? Oh, he's running for president after the war there in 1848. He's the Whig candidate. What's his qualifications? He doesn't have any. He won the war. He'd never even voted his entire life. That's not unusual for a general. A lot of them never have, as to remain impartial. Well, he was from Louisiana and he was a slaveholder, but he himself decided that probably extending slavery is not a smart move. Another guy owns slaves who thinks the days of slavery is probably numbered. He also says it's just not going to work. You can't grow cotton in New Mexico and Arizona and West Texas, right? Anyway, he's a Whig, and Whigs are supposed to be from the North, and here he is, a Southern Whig who has slaves, who isn't a big fan of slavery. He's going to win the election, and that's about it. Lewis Cass of Michigan's a Democrat. Hey, aren't they supposed to be from the South? He's from the North. Anyway, the party appears to be breaking on a North-South line. He says maybe the way around this whole slavery in the West issue is perhaps popular sovereignty. He liked to call it squatter sovereignty, but decided to go with popular sovereignty. He says let the person who owns land, wherever he might be, whether it's going to be Oklahoma or Montana, let him decide if he's going to have slaves or not. Because, in Montana, there's really no point. Way too cold up there. That's wheat country. And anyway, he says a lot of people are upset with this because it violates again the 1820 compromise. Remember that 3630 line, Missouri southern border all the way to the Pacific? So some people aren't too happy about that either. Now we got the barn burners. They call these people the Free Soil Party. There's a splinter group of the Northern Democrats, even a few Whigs join. Their motto, free trade, free soil, free speech, free men. They want to get rid of slavery right now. And some people in the South clearly see these guys as insane, calling them barn burners. You're going to burn the whole thing down to end slavery. Hey, Martin Van Buren joins it. Yep, he's still around. And we got John Francis Adams, who's the grandson of all the other Adams who have been president, trying to find his way into the White House through the anti-slavery issue. They're not going to win, but it's telling you how intense the anti-slavery movement is becoming. Hey, Mormons, remember us? Yep, they're in Utah. Now the border has shifted and they have become part of the United States again. So it pulls everybody's attention away from slavery just for a few minutes. Brigham Young is named the first governor of the Utah Territory, but Mormons are a little bit worried. First of all, Mormons don't believe in slavery, so it's never going to happen in Utah. They're also worried, though, about the influx of Americans coming in and pouring into Utah and maybe, making them a minority in their own state. Because they do have some religious tensions with the rest of the United States, i.e., polygamy, right? Marrying more than one person. They're going to outlaw it themselves in 1890. And ironically, they weren't really into it. Maybe 20-30% of the church ever participated in it. Well, they're watching a tidal wave of Americans coming, and you know how immigration usually works. They come into an area, it fills up, gets crowded, they move on. So I see a solid wall of non-Mormons coming straight for them. And then, ironically, California saves the Mormons. And Panama, way down in Central America, they get helped out too by California. What are we talking about? That's Steve Young, by the way. He used to play for the 49ers. He's the great-grandson of Brigham Young. I think it's a really cool picture. It's the way the game was supposed to be played, right? Dirty uniforms, grass field. Well, the thing that saves the Mormons is the gold rush. That's right, Sutter's Mill in 1848. Everybody shows up. Name the football team, San Francisco 49ers. That's the team that Steve Young used to play for. Isn't that kind of ironic, huh? You've got the gold helmet, look like gold. They're named for the 49ers. So we find out there's gold in California. Everybody goes running there. Forget about Utah. They're going right for California. The rail line runs through Utah, and they wave at the Mormons on their way to California. Now, everybody shows up there looking for gold. Look at this. This picture tells you what you need to know. These guys are Chinese, digging for gold. I believe this might be an African American child. I'm not sure. These guys are white. Everybody's there looking for gold. They don't care what ethnic group you come from. Everybody shows up there. We got people showing up from Belgium. You have the Chinese over here. We've got people from the south, people from the north, people who lived there when they found gold. The Mexicans were already there. Everybody's looking for gold, and I got news for you. If you show up with a slave, that guy just became your business partner because it's just you and him out there with a pickaxe. And if we find gold, yeah, he's not going to just he's not going to give it to you. You guys are going to end up sharing it. So everybody's out there looking for gold. Slavery's never been legal in California. It's not about to start now, especially with gold, because anybody who finds gold is going to take off with it. But you know who else really benefits from the California gold rush? Women. Yeah, they open up their own businesses. They're going to open up general stores selling, stuff to these people. If you want to get rich in 19th century America, open up a saloon, right? All this gold they dug out is going to end up in the saloon. Really big into laundry because stuff gets dirty all the time, right? So they got to clean all that stuff. There was some other stuff that, shall we say, wasn't exactly legitimate, and I'm not going to go into that. I'm pretty sure you already know what I'm talking about. You can deal with that yourself. But women establish their own business. They make a lot of money, and they're going to start changing the laws because they've got the influence with the money. And the women's voting rights are going to begin in the West rather than the East and work their way over. Now here is Utah, right? The Great Salt Lake. When, of course, the East Coast gets crowded, people come up here. This gets crowded, they just keep moving. Got a solid wall coming across North America. Well, the minute they discovered gold in California, they were just passing through, going to California. Now, there's three ways you can get there. You can go overland, but that's going to take about 6 months. That's not easy. You might not even get there. Remember, you got to get to the Rocky Mountains before the 4th of July. You go in there after July, you get stuck out here in the mountains, and you're going to die out there. End up eating each other. Donner Party. Another way you can get there is to take a boat and sail all the way around South America. It'll take you about 6 months to get there, but at least you'll get there. Problem is, the gold might be gone by the time you get there. What a lot of people would do, get on a boat and they sail down to Panama. There's no canal there. Take a couple weeks to cross this canal, pop over on the other side and sail your way up here. Take a couple months. Hey, maybe we should build a canal there one day. Did the Erie Canal, why not the Panama Canal? Yeah, something to put on a to-do list. We'll get around to that. But the California gold rush is what's going to save the Mormons and keep the Mormons getting drowned by a wave of American immigrants. California is going to become a state fairly quickly because they shoot past that 60,000 person mark real fast when the gold is there. Well, 9 southern states are going to have a convention in Nashville of 1850. They're discussing secession. That means they are going to leave the Union. I misspelled that there. It should be S-E. Secession. They're going to leave the Union and form their own country. And of course, John C. Calhoun is there, and he says, woo woo, I say to this Union. Yeah, he's kind of gone around the bend already. So they're already thinking about leaving the Union. They've also mentioned the non-existent Fugitive Slave Act of 1793. They're upset because lots of slaves are running. They're going to the north or going to the west, places there isn't any slavery. They can't get them back. And now it's time for Henry Clay to come up with one more compromise, right? The great compromiser comes out with the Compromise of 1850. California comes a union, it's going to be a free state. It was never legal there, it's not going to be legal. They've got agriculture, but they've done the smart thing and paid people to pick fruit. So, it's a lot more productive. As for New Mexico and Utah, hey, popular sovereignty. You can decide if you want slaves or not. So it's legal, but you don't have to have slaves you don't want to. And of course, New Mexico, how's it going to work there, right? I mean, you can't grow cotton over there. In Utah, no way the Mormons are letting slavery into the territory. Texas and New Mexico, they set those borders, the Texas current border, so it doesn't get split up and turned into more slave states. Any debt Texas has, the federal government will assume it. They abolished the slave trade in D.C. Everybody's really happy here with the Compromise of 1850, except for the last part. Henry Clay does a great job, and he loses the ball on the goal line because they strengthened the Fugitive Slave Act of 1793. No one ever enforced it. 1850, they bring it back. Fugitive slaves have no right to a jury. They have people called slave catchers. They go galloping around in the north looking for people who might be escaped slaves. I said might be because they'll grab anybody they can find, right? Any African American person they can find, and this person who's accused of being a runaway slave is not even allowed to testify on their own behalf. So if I need to find somebody, I'm grabbing them, and there you are. You can't even say, hey, I'm not the guy you're looking for. Testimony of the claimant, i.e. the slave hunters, all you need to send somebody back south. Maybe it's who you're looking for, maybe it's not. Worst of all, you ready for this? The court gets $10 if they rule for the slaveholder, $5 if they rule for the slave. I mean, yeah, what's wrong with you? Who came up with this idea? That's why it made everyone upset. It doesn't make any sense, and they can grab anybody. As one person observed, the North is now one vast hunting ground. Well, it's one thing to say you can legally grab somebody, accuse them of being a slave, and take them back. Yeah, doing it's a whole nother matter. A gentleman named Anthony Burns in Boston had escaped. They tracked him down. He was a tailor. So these two slave hunters grab him, and Boston almost explodes in anarchy. Boston is very much anti-abolitionist. He has a lot of friends and neighbors. People have known him over the year. And when they try to take this guy, a whole crowd gets around. It's almost Boston Massacre time already again. They're throwing rocks. They're punching these slaveholders. These slave hunters. They run off. They got to go grab the army to go get this guy and a couple other people to try and march them out of Boston. Okay, no way is this going to fly? The Fugitive Slave Act is the one thing that set everybody off. It made slaveholders in the South happy, made everybody in the North upset. There's even people in the South wondering if this is really, should we really go through this kind of trouble? So you can tell that North and South are moving in two different directions, and at this point, they might actually be two separate nations. All right, headed for Sectional Crisis Part 2. You guys have a great day. See you later.